Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. If you're new, welcome back. If you're returning, it's storming here. I'm sure you guys are used to my background noise, so hopefully it's not loud or bothersome. Hope everyone is doing well. So I'm just showing you the hard gel that I currently have on my nails during this set. It is this Skin Tone Thicky Gel from NOTPOLISH. I'm just showing you guys how thick it is. As far as builder gel goes, this is my favorite. You can use it really thin in a thin coat, or you can use it to build. I love it. So I will keep, as I've explained many times, this on my nails at all times. So I'm just showing you how thick it is normally, and then I'll get into that in a minute later. And I wanted to show you guys my trick for making shorties, okay? It took me years to learn this. Boy, as usual, lots of things are going on. So I'll talk about the tips later. What I do each time I do a set is I will remove the top coat and thin out the builder gel that I wear around the world when I'm not doing nails, down to as thin as I can get it, but with some still on. And the reason I do it as thin as I can is because I don't want to have to go up a size in the nail tip and wear like a larger size. That would not look good on me. And the reason why I leave some on is so that I don't ever prep or touch or do damage to my own natural nails when doing repeated pop-off sets. So I'm just showing you guys here how I do that. And then I'm also going to show you the extent of prepping that I do to my nails. I just will go with this after I remove, and I don't even have to remove like all of the top coat or anything, because I'm doing this prep because I'm going to put on a pop-off set, okay? So I will scrub around the edge of my fingers to get off any dry skin and to finer tune the gel, just to thin it out a little bit more, because of course, as you saw, I was going in with a pretty coarse bit and I only kept it on the thicker areas of my gel. As soon as it got thin, like right here on my index and middle finger, the gel was already pretty thin, so going on it just a little bit took it down. And you'll see I have to reapply some, because even though there's still gel on my nails here, I wanted to make sure there was a little bit more before I go in with nail glue and acrylic and everything for my pop-off. Whew, you guys, I had to come inside. That storm was getting a little much. I woke up at 3 a.m. this morning and the whole sky was just lighting up with lightning, like crazy lightning, with no sound, no thunder, no wind, no rain, just lightning. I was like, whoa, this is weird. And that went on for a couple of hours at 3 a.m. Right now it's almost 10 a.m., 7 hours later, and it's just pouring rain. We needed the rain so bad. All of the rivers and streams and lakes around here are low. Okay, so I will explain the other background noise. It wouldn't be one of my videos if there weren't background noise. So I'm just going to go in with, I know, because I can tell, and you can probably tell here, there is still enough gel on my nails that I shouldn't have to worry, but I just get worried. And so I'm going to apply just a tiny bit more, but you can see here how thinly you can get this on for it being a builder gel. And also how you can add just a little bit more, but still keep it. It's so controllable. Any other time before they came out with this that I tried builder gel, I hated it because it was just so sticky and so hard to use. And I think because this is so thick, it's actually easier to use, which that concept didn't match in my brain until I got some. And then, yeah, anyway, I love it. So I cured that, and I'm going to have to rough it up again. So I'm not putting it on to remove it again. I just am getting the surface a little scratched up for my application. Okay, so that's what I was doing here. I cleaned it off with some swipe, and now I'm going to show you the trick I learned for shorties, okay? Here are some square C-curve tips and some square no C-curve tips, all right? In case you don't know what C-curve means, it explains the curve that you see here when you look at the nail from the free edge. So it's either straight like the one on the left, or it's C-curved like the one on the right. And if you hold this tip to the side, it would look like a C, which is why it's called that. So this is not referring to curved nails, which I will show you next. Pardon me. This is just a curved nail. So that refers to the apex shape from the side. However, this does have a slight C-curve to it as well. So for shorties, using a straight It doesn't matter. Using a tip, straight, square, any kind of tip, just a regular square tip that you can use. If it does not have a C curve, it can look wide. Just as soon as you cut it short, do you see how wide this looks? And I'm going to show you them all together. This is the curved one I cut short, and then there is the C curved one. So here are all three of them lined up. Which one looks widest to you? The one in the middle, right? That one in the middle is the no C curve. I think because they don't have a C curve, they get kind of flattened out once you cut them short. So I have learned for the best shape shorties and the easiest shorties, use a C curve or a curved tip. Those also work really well. If your tip has wings like this, where you're trying to put it on and the wings are just too extreme, these happen to be some of my favorite tips on earth, these Kairose C curve here, but the wings are too long. So you just want to cut the wings off in the same direction as the wing is coming out of it to leave yourself some of that edge there. Many times I put the cut in the wrong place and ended up with like a straight edge to it, which was hard to glue on. So if the wings bother you and you want to trim them, just trim them in the same direction that they're already going. So I will use a little bit of Young Nails glue, and I am showing you guys the real time that it takes for this glue to dry, because we all, when we're doing these videos, speed past that or cut it out because no one wants to sit there and watch glue dry literally, okay? But for beginners, it can be confusing to be at home wondering why it's taking your glue so long to dry when on the video it's instantaneous. So I'm showing you here just exactly how long it does take to dry. And so this is real time, and then I do spray it with the fast dry to just cement it in. Once I have that little bit of glue and my tip secured, I will go in with more bits of glue if I need it to further adhere the tip down, and I will spray it again to just lock it in. That is what I do. I think everyone has their own method, but that's mine. I love the Young Nails glue. It's pretty much exclusively all I use, and this particular jar that I have in this video, I threw out after this. It is at the end of its life because it was stringy and thick, and it was old. Also, just to mention, some of these videos I've been posting out of order. So the last video I did, my hand was completely fine and healed, and in this video, it was, again, this is real-time glue dry for you guys. In this video, my hand was 99% well, but I was still having some involuntary jerking and not full control of my strength. And so I do show you that just one time in the video, because it's unavoidable. The way I smash a bead on, it's a little bit comical. So I'll show you guys that later. So once these tips are really, really cemented on, and because this is my pop-off method, I will glue my tips straight to my gel as if now this is sped up, by the way, as if I'm doing a real set. Otherwise, I can't file. I haven't found another pop-off method that lets me file super heavy-handed with the e-file, with the hand file, the way I want to file without them popping off. And so this is what I do. In case you're new here, in case you didn't know, I will show you what I do next. Instead of going in with a primer, I go in with my peel-off base coat. And if you're curious or new, let me know in the comments, and I will definitely send you to the link to one or two videos where I show how I do the pop-off method from A to Z. You see how narrow this is? And when I showed you the example with all three of those on that little palette, all three were my thumb, by the way. So that was like the real size. Okay, so next I'm going to get into showing you guys how to prep the nail for getting a good shape before you lay your acrylic. So right here, only quickly do that one stroke of separating it at this angle. Right here, you should not be doing this. To get this little wing to lay flat, I want you to go like this, in this direction down. That's how you're going to blend this part. If you do it the first way I showed you with the red X, you're going to risk making a divot there. So if you know, you know. If you've done that, you know what I'm talking about. So blend it down, and then after you've got it blended down and flattened, then you can go in on the side and only go straight. So keep rotating back and forth between those two ways. And even though I'm going on the top, you see my file is still straight. I don't have it like hooked or curved in any way, and I hope that makes sense. But to blend the side walls of the tip, I will go up and down like that, And I'm doing the same thing, but on the other side. And then I will take my e-file, which I will show you, to kind of blend down the glue and the tip if they're a little bit thick. Some tips have a well, and so they are thinner, and you don't have to do that. But I'm just really obsessed all the time with my prep and making sure that my foundation is as good as it can be, and then my acrylic application becomes super easy, and so does shaping. So I spend most of my time on prep before my application. So I'm just showing you guys real quick how I straighten those out. This is a not polished medium cross cut bit. I'm going to take it on 8 RPMs. Remember, I'm working on hard gel, glue, and a tip here. So that's why I'm going in with a metal bit at this speed. I'm going to gently roll across the tip and make everything flush to my nail. Now you can see that that was not flush yet. I'm going to go straight. You can see how straight my file board is to the side. If you tilt this in any way, left or right, like this, like I'm showing you here, this underneath part, if you do that, only keep it on the free edge. Do not keep it up near your skin, because that will create that divot I was talking about. And again, coming down with it, as soon as you move some closer to your natural nail width, you're going to need to come down the side again and keep blending back and forth. I hope I showed that well enough, or explained that well enough. If you have any questions that didn't make sense, let me know. But then you want to get some kind of tool if your eye isn't good or what. And again, instead of going down, you're going to go to the side to get that off. Just keep remembering that and try going down the side anytime you need to blend it. Most likely that will do your blend for you before you need to go in on those sidewalls, because you only want the sidewalls flush to your nail shape, not more narrow. And that little divot that you can make right there, you're going to be behind the 8 ball after that. You're never going to make up for it. You're going to try to put acrylic there. It's going to make your nail wide. Woo, woo, woo. And I say that because I used to do that like on every single set, and I could not figure out why. I would be keeping my nail file straight. I would be having my edges, my sidewalls edge to edge, and I would still always get that divot there, until I learned to simply just go down like I've been showing you here. So once I get this nail blended with this harsher bit and I'm down to a level that I'm happy with, I'm going to take another file and just make sure that I'm fine-tuned enough. Yes, again, I'm going to blend the top and the sides, keeping it straight. Even if I'm on the top and it looks like I'm going at an angle, the file is still straight, if that makes sense. Any place that I see that it still needs to be blended or is still wider than my natural nail bed, I'm going to just straighten out real quick. And see, it should only take a few little strokes because I've already done most of the work. I'm going to go in with some swipe and a lint-free wipe, clean off my nails after I dust them off, and here is what they should look before you put on primer. This is my widest nail, so a lot of times I will pinch it just like that to just make it a little bit more narrow. You don't want to pinch it so hard that there's like a huge line down your nail or anything, or anything that would compromise the strength or structure of your tip, but you can pinch it just a little, look like that. So you can already see, if you can see what I'm talking about, you can already tell how these look like they're coming out of my natural nail bed, and how the shape of the tip, since it is a C-curve. Now, when you're wearing these C-curve nails at a full 4XL, the C-curve is going to be way more dramatic. And I've heard a lot of people say, if your natural nails are flat, do not wear a C-curve, because it is not the shape of your nail, and so it's going to pop off. It's going to strain to try to adhere. So if you have a flat nail bed, use a non-C-curve tip. And that can be true, but I have a very flat nails, and I always use C-curve, even when I'm wearing a 4XL. And to me, as well as curved nails, for me, that never causes them to pop off, because I'm really careful with my prep. Maybe that's why. But that saying that I just said to you guys makes sense, right? I mean, why would you put on something that is not the same shape as your nail if you want it to stay on? That totally makes sense. However, once you shorten these tips to a shorty length, you can see right here, they look like they're coming out of my skin. So the shape, the C-curve of it is still there, but it is not as intense. See this bead right here that I paused on? This right here, your very first bead that you are applying. If you're not noticing that, and you're just going on to your next bead perhaps, and you let this dry there, look how wide your nail is going to be. And if you don't, go back to it and fix it again. And a couple of times until your bead, I'm showing you here that I have to do it again. And a few times throughout the video, I'm going to be showing you this angle of the nail. I've mentioned this before, but if you're new or if you're still a beginner or learning, this can be really, really helpful to look at your nail, point the free edge towards your face, and look at what shape your nail has. This will really tell you how thick your acrylic is, where you need more, where you need less, where you need to pull it in, build it up. Especially with this first bead. I feel like the first bead that I lay, whether I start where the tip meets the natural nail like I did on this nail, or whether I'm doing a one bead method because it's a small nail, which I will show you later, or what nail I'm doing. You see, I'm still working until this bead dries in place on that particular side where I saw it was going to be out of control. But I find that it really, really helps me during application and filing to look at the free edge to just see where I'm at. So yeah, I'm going to show you that a couple of times throughout this video. So this bead right here would technically be like my apex bead. So not like my apex bead. This thumbnail, I am doing a 3 bead method. So I did the first bead meets the tip of the natural nail meets. This video is going by fast. I'm using very small beads. That's what I was showing you here, is that I'm using much smaller beads than I normally would. They're the same consistency, but just smaller. The 3 bead method is the tip meets the natural nail pulled down to the free edge. The second bead is your apex bead, and the third bead is your cuticle bead. Now, that's quote-unquote the 3 bead method. It's a lot of times what they teach you in school. Is what a lot of nail techs use as their formula for building nails. And I find that if I restrict myself to that formula, I just don't feel, especially if I'm encapsulating, using glitter, there's just many, many reasons why that formula doesn't work for me in particular. Because like right here, even though I did the 3 bead method and my nail was quote-unquote covered, I still was missing acrylic right there. My bead that I laid either wasn't big enough or thick enough to go there. And I also feel like I would like a higher apex. That's the shape I prefer. I want you to notice here, because I'm going to bring this up too, throughout, the way that I'm placing the pressure of the brush on my nail is I am leaving most of the bead there, and what I'm pulling down, I am pressing harder on my brush when I get to the free edge to make the acrylic on my free edge thinner. And I will show you that again later. So here I'm going in with more of a 2 bead method. So this bead is going to comprise of the bead that goes all the way down to my free edge and my apex. So technically after this, I can place 1 more bead and call it done. Or I can place 10 more beads to fill it in where I need, you know, where I may have been missing product, etc. And what I'm getting at, and my point about that is, just do it how is comfortable for you. If you prefer, because you're learning, to teach yourself the 3 bead method to get your structure correct, I think it is a really good method for that. And I naturally do that anyway, like especially with a short set like this, I'll naturally start with a 3 bead method. Even if this right here is basically my first and second bead all together, I'm still going to, in my mind, consider it a 3 bead method, if that makes sense. But as you can see right here, I'm looking down the barrel, and I can see, and you could see, I'm sure, there's a lot of acrylic on this side here. And had I not noticed that and just kept right on going, that would have hardened there. And so I'm going to keep working right here to get this in better shape. And you see right away how that brings the shape of the nail together. So this, basically, all I'm going to have to do when I'm finished is just fine tune it. There's not going to be a whole bunch of shaping, filing. And this would be my 3rd bead or cuticle bead. And as you can see, I also just placed it right on top of the other bead. I did not blend the top of my other bead, so because it was my cuticle and my first and second bead in one. So as soon as I laid this bead, I already have an apex, because laying this acrylic over the top of the first bead gave me an apex. And I will show you that better and slower on the middle nail, because I know I'm a little bit behind the action on the screen with my words. But you do want your nails to always look evenly coated and level. So when you're looking at it like this, and I'll show you again on this finger, you can clearly see from that angle, like I said, where you're missing or where you need acrylic. So it helps you get that coated evenly. Like I think it might be this nail. When I'm finished, I can clearly see there's a bald spot that I didn't get, and I needed to add a little bit more. So I'm doing the same thing I did on the others, but I want you to notice the top of this bead. The very top of the bead that is closer to my cuticle. Do you see how I did not blend that or thin it out? I left the top of the bead alone. I let it dry exactly where I placed it. That is because that is my apex. The rest of the time, the pressure that I'm using on my brush is to push down to thin out my free edge and to bring the acrylic in and or to the top. So you can see right here I'm missing acrylic. It's kind of not the best angle, but when I add a bead there, you'll probably be able to see it better. But my next bead, I will have an apex right here without trying or adding or building a bead, because you see from the side here, or just in general, you see this hump? So me not blending the top of that bead and leaving it exactly there is going to give me an apex as soon as I put another bead over it. And this is the bald spot I was talking about. It's almost see-through, and I could see it much better with my naked eye as I was doing this, so I'm just adding another bead. And this is what I was mentioning about it being a 3 bead or a 10 bead method. Just put whatever you need to put on the nail to get it applied, but it is kind of good to have that ABC structure of the 1, 2, 3 bead method, just at least to start, to get yourself used to it. So this is my cuticle bead, but it's also going to build my apex because of the bead I left under it. So you can see as soon as I pull this down, there's an apex, and I didn't have to build it, make it thicker, try for it, add it, or anything else, because it's just there. So during your application, you want to keep your free edge thin, or how you keep your free edge thin is, like I mentioned, when you... I'm sorry to keep saying like I mentioned, but I know I'm giving multiple examples of the same thing. It's so hard to talk with the action on the screen, you guys. If you can see, the pressure of my brush gets firmer and or harder. I push down harder on my brush when I'm at the free edge with my bead. So if I'm pulling a bead down the nail because it's ready to be pulled down, the consistency is correct for me to pull it down without pulling it off. I push harder on my free edge, and that the result of that is making a thinner free edge. I hope I'm saying that right. So for example, right here, most of my bead is kind of lingering in a fat lump at my free edge. If I let it dry that way, I'm going to have quite a bit to file. But if I push this around and move it around to make sure that all of my sides are covered, and then I start patting it into place, you can see that I'm starting to get a shape here, and it's starting to form. As it's starting to get mattified and solid, I'm going to be able to see where I need it, want it, or not. Now I'm pulling it down. So while I'm pulling this down, and I know I'm going to be pulling some of it off, I'm going to be putting pressure on that last stroke of my brush. I'm going to be pushing down on the free edge, so that there, right here, so that that is thin in that area. I'm going to repeat something right here. Watch this bead. Watch this bead placement. Oh! Let's do it one more time in slow motion. This was my hand involuntarily giving... That was the problem I was still having with my hand. Luckily, the bead landed where it should have, but that hasn't always been the case. And then again, you can see from the side the natural apex that not blending the top of the previous bead made with my cuticle bead. Like, look how pretty that shape is from the side. And I didn't have to worry about an apex, think about an apex, or build an apex. So if you do that, that'll help you. Also, you can see right here the angle of my brush. I am pressing that acrylic to the top, and I'm pressing harder at my free edge to thin out that acrylic. And I'm just adding another bead here because I want to, because I like the way it looks. This acrylic was a dream to work with, as you can see. And it was a pleasure to do some short nails. I actually enjoyed doing these. The Frenchies gave me a problem because I'm used to doing Frenchies on really long nails. So I'm used to bringing the white part of the Frenchie up higher on the nail. So I had to walk away from my nail room for like the whole rest of the evening and come back the next day to start my Frenchies, because I did 3 or 4 and wiping them off and on my thumb and on my index that just were terrible and so huge and not at all how I wanted them to look, until I came back the next day after I had looked at some pictures, because I like my Frenchies to be really deep and really narrow and thin, and I just wasn't getting that result. It was just, they were wide and fat and terrible, making the nails look wrong. My middle finger is my widest finger, so whenever I get to my thumb or middle finger with that, with a Frenchie, especially on a short set, I just can't stand how it looks, because to me the nail is already wide. I want you to take the video back if you want to, if you're interested, where I just had my thumb sticking at the camera, and you might be able to see it again here. You can see how, because I am using a C-curve tip, my fingernail isn't actually, there's a space between my fingernail and my tip because my nail is flat and the tip is C-curved. If you have that going on and you are going to be wearing these, or if you're working on a client, make sure you seal that inside there. Take it back if you don't know what I'm talking about. Underneath my thumb in particular, you can see what I'm talking about. And the way you would seal that is with some gel or glue. All right, I'm going to go in with this medium super long flute barrel from NOTPOLISH, and I think I have it on speed 8, and the speed 8 and going in with medium is because I'm not trying to debulk so much. I'm probably doing a little bit of debulking, but mostly I am trying to shape these nails without removing too much, because they're already minimal. They're already shorties and kind of small, and I don't need to do too much work. But like I always mention to you guys, I'm going to be showing again, as usual, the areas of the nail that I find are crucial places to be thinned out and to file. And if any set of nails that you do where this is crucial, it is the shorty. Your nail bed and your client's nail bed, the width of it is the width of it. You can't make it any more narrow. You can make it wider, but you can't make it more narrow. You're not going to put on a tiny tip that doesn't fit. And you're building an extension. So naturally, it is going to be bigger and or wider than the natural nail. And that is what you do not want. But by the nature of the very thing you're doing, which is adding an extension, you are adding bulk to that area. So you need to do your best to, I guess, narrow it back out. And like I've showed you guys before, I think I'm going to show it. Oh, wait, here's the free edge example I wanted to show you. Do you notice, and I'll show you this again so we don't have to like keep going back or anything, but how looking at that C-curve and or rainbow type shape, you want the acrylic to be the same level on that entire arch that you're looking at, except for the very, very edge of your free edge corners, the sharp square part of your corner. You want that to be just a little bit thinner. Thin enough to where it's not showing, but it's just barely covered. Like there's just enough acrylic. Because remember, you're also going to top coat with a gel that adds a little bit of bulk. And when nails are really short, any bulk is visible. So this area right here, the top, bringing all of your product to the top. These are phrases that us nail techs say all the time, but it's super duper true. So I am trying to show you guys like what angles I use, what direction I keep my file at, and that kind of thing. Sometimes not everyone is going to want the shorty. Like if you're doing shorties at home on yourself, you're doing your own nails, and you want them to have a good shape. Maybe you don't want them square. Maybe you want them rounded or coffin. I don't know. So that's kind of a square remark that I'm saying here, but you just want everything to match. So if your sidewalls are super straight, make your free edge super straight as well to make it match. Even if it's a coffin, you still want those straight lines throughout the nail is what I'm trying to say. Also, I've said and shown it lots of times when I'm doing my application on 3 or 4XL long nails on my channel a lot, I show you guys that you do not need to bring the acrylic all the way exactly to the free edge or, of the tip. When you're doing application, you can let some of the tip show because you're going to file it off. That is really only true with a nail that is extended 3 inches past the actual meat of your finger. When you have a short nail like this, you do want your sidewalls covered, but just barely, with just enough acrylic that once you add a top coat, you don't have bulk there. And so to keep them narrow, I think it starts with what tip you use, which I think should be a C-curved or a curved. Those other curved ones I showed you also really help your shape. But if you see right here, now or in a minute when I show you this angle again, you can tell from, let's just call it a rainbow, okay? So at the rainbow's end where you would find the pot of gold, you want that to be paper thin as possible. And the rest of it should be the same level. So I'll bring that up again when I show it again, because I'm going to show it multiple times for you guys. So get a tool or your eyeball or your file or something and hold it along your sidewalls. Is it straight? Is it straight this way? Until you learn to visualize this without using a tool, try this, and that will help. Again, you guys, I'm just giving you guys tips and things that I've learned throughout my journey. It doesn't mean I'm right or you should do it this way or anything, but just things that have really helped me along the way. So when I show you this from this angle, again, I want you to picture a rainbow, and I want you to picture where the pots of gold would be. So your free edge corners should be thin. Okay, I guess I'm going to keep filing. Yeah, because I see a little lump there. So, me saying that the acrylic does not have to come all the way to the free edge on nails when you're doing application. Here we go. Do you see at the end where the pot of rainbow, how that is tapered in more than it is in the rest? And that all my acrylic has been brought to the top, essentially. The top of the rainbow. That is what techs mean when we say, move your product to the top. Push everything to the top. Get everything in the center. Get the acrylic off your sides. Thin out your sides. Make your sides straight. Straighten out your sidewalls. All of those phrases that we use, it really just means that. Look at your nail from the free edge like it's a rainbow, and it should look the way I just showed you. Same thing here. I am going to thin out right here. And I think I show it again, but if you guys are on my channel frequently, I'm sure you know what area I'm talking about. It's so hard to put a name to that area, but especially on shorties, if you don't get that area thinned out and the nails tapered to where your rainbow looks, your free edge, your rainbow looks like I mentioned or showed you, and I'm going to keep showing you. That's where your bulk is going to come from, because there were so many times that I did shorties, you guys, where I put on the barest amount of acrylic, and I could see by looking at my free edge, just like I am now, like using that same tool and same method, and seeing that I literally couldn't take any more acrylic off. So it has to be something to do with my prep. It has to be something to do with the tip I'm using, because if I literally can't take any more acrylic off, how am I supposed to make it thinner? If I put on less, there'll be no acrylic there. Like, those sorts of things would go through my mind, and I would just get so frustrated. And I just never considered until it hit me one day. Number one, it's the tips you use. Yes, it absolutely is. And this area right here that I said I was going to show you is crucial. Tapering is, I guess, the word, where all of your edges, your sidewalls and your free edge, are as thin as possible, and all of the product is brought to the top of the nail, but in that arched manner, where if you can think of the top of your rainbow, the very tip top of the rainbow, the highest part of the arch should be your only thick point. And this is with a coffin too. A stiletto even. I mean, the point is so fine, so you wouldn't really have a rainbow shape, but the concept is still there. All your acrylic should be to the top. Your sidewalls and free edge should be just the thinnest spot of acrylic. And so, yeah, when I would do those nails and not be able to figure out why they were so thick, it wasn't even because I had on too much acrylic. It would be because the tips were the wrong shape. I had put on a non-C-curve or coffin or square. It wouldn't matter if it was coffin or square, because I'm cutting that part off, right? I'm getting a shorty out of that. Here you go. This and this. Oh yes, I do show it. Okay, so if you look at this, how it looks before I start, you can imagine that if I do not taper it in right here, now typically I'm doing this from the other angle, and so I'm not making these divots and or stripes in the nail, and I'm doing this normally when I file, but I'm doing this on purpose to very specifically show you what I'm talking about. So it starts with your tip shape, either a curved or a C-curve. Try it, you guys, it really helps. And the next thing you need to do is thin it out in these 2 spots. Literally take your e-file and drag it down like I just did and thin that out. And then roll it over a little bit to the side to even out that harsh line. And then boom, you have this kind of barrel shape, as well as, if you notice, and if I do it again, bringing, when I'm evening out the shape from this like divot that I've dug here, I am also going to be thinning out my free edge. And I will show that if it comes up again. So from here, I'm just going to be evening everything out and making everything crisp. You can see right here that my sidewall has a little bit of dangly bits that I'm going to straighten out with my file. And back to what I was saying about acrylic on your edges, that kind of goes out the window with shorties. You do need to have acrylic on your free edge when you're doing shorties, just because it'll look naked if you don't. And if you are kind of like really experienced, you could leave it a little bit bald, because yes, you are going to file it off at the first moment. Here's how it's looking now. But that's not good advice for shorties. I just want to reiterate that, because saying that about long nails, I should have mentioned that that is kind of long nail specific, that little bit of advice that I gave you guys. So right here, thinning out the free edge. You shouldn't have to, and I'm guilty of this, I have to do this a lot, especially when I'm encapsulating stuff. You shouldn't have to get your shape from literally taking a 1/2 inch of acrylic off the underneath of your free edge. Like the way I just took my bit under my free edge and just took a little curl of the acrylic off. That's just to crisp it up, and that is what you should have to do. If you've laid your acrylic trim enough, that's all you should have to do to the underside of your free edge. Just give it a little trim. When you have to gouge out a, like I said, 1/2 inch divot from underneath your nail to make your nail thin because you don't want to dig into the design on the top, then maybe you've been a little bit heavy with your encapsulation or put too much stuff in there. But now, do you see the rainbow where the pots of gold would be? The actual square, do you see how that's tapered? Okay, I thought I was going to have to talk about shape. You guys, I got through it. Whew. Look at this. Anytime I use a really pigmented color that's been sitting on my shelf, I grab this not polished shaker and bam! That machine is the truth, I'm going to tell you right now. It will scoot all the way across your table, so you got to hold it in place. Well, it does mine because I have the mat, the little paper mat that makes it scoot. I think if you put it on a regular table, it doesn't scoot because it has those little rubber stoppers. Here's how the set is looking after I put matte top coat on. I put matte top coat on because I'm getting ready to do a Frenchie and I want a smooth surface. So like I mentioned, I did, by the way, I have an unboxing coming up for you guys. I think 3 or 4 nail videos and an unboxing. I don't know what placement, when I'll release them, in what order, that's the word, in what order I'll release them, but that's coming at you. But I did, like I mentioned, try these Frenchies the day before this. So this is me coming back the next day after frustration. And I was using my favorite not polish, really long liner. And I was just doing the Frenchies too big, too long, too high, and with a too big of a brush. So I did choose this Kairose extra long liner, which worked great. I did notice it lifting off the nail on the curve, which the not polished brush doesn't do, which usually thwarts me, but worked out okay for me this day because I had, like I said, looked at pictures and figured out what I was doing wrong, so I was good. But you want to get your brush completely saturated and then wipe the product off until you have on just enough to paint, but not enough to like drip. That's one little thing I learned. And I really like my Frenchies this thin. especially on a shorty. I feel like the more, the thicker your, thicker meaning wider, or I guess deep, not deeper, this is a deep French. The more shallow of a French you have, so the higher up you make it, the longer you make it, the more white is on the nail, I feel like makes the nail look bigger than it already is. And I'm not perfect by far at all, but I feel like I did get these nails. Obviously they're called nails, Jen. I did get these nails. I was trying to say this set, but what I meant was like this set of shorties in particular, I feel like I got them shaped as good as I could. Perhaps I could have gone more, maybe changed something with my application, filed more, I don't know, but for me, I felt like I got them as good as I could in the shape and thinness and width category. So this was my best effort for the day. And I don't want to ruin it and make them look wide with a thick Frenchie. Thick meaning right here at the smile line, it being like a 1/2 inch thick, and the Frenchie going all the way up the sidewalls. And that was kind of where I was going the day before, and it was just looking terrible. Like my smile line and my side lines were coming all the way up near my cuticle, and that was just, oh my gosh, looking terrible. And I was going to leave that footage in, but this video was already long, and a lot of times I don't do tutorials. I just do nails and talk about other stuff, but I do like to do tutorials. I'm trying to kind of do them like 50-50, like, you know, this video I'm going to chat, and this video I'm going to do a tutorial, kind of half and half, because I know I enjoy catching up with you guys. I enjoy venting and sharing my life with you, but I also know this is a nail channel, and I definitely have had feedback. It's only been from one person. You know, I'm not huge or anything, but that less private talking and more about the nails. So I wanted to kind of, you know, do a happy medium with that. So today is a tutorial, no personal things. Not to say that I wouldn't mention a personal thing, but just I wanted to make this a tutorial, I guess is what I'm saying. So yes, my Frenchies here I am using, as you saw, the Sean Legend white. I was asked not too long ago what the best black and white polish duo was, and I would definitely say, and this was my answer, the Sean Legend. Super pigmented, and this is a gel polish. It's not a liner gel. So for you to expect it to not be thin and to stay in place for line work isn't what you'd need to expect out of a gel polish, because it's polish. It's not supposed to do liner work, but it does. And it also lays thin enough to give you full coverage as a gel. So it's an amazing product. He definitely has a good product. Every single thing of his that I have tried so far, I love. I love the monomer, the brush, all of it. I haven't tried all of it, but the things that I have tried, a hard yes. These are Serenity crystals, the AB type, in different sizes from Bluestreak Crystals. If you want to get anything from Bluestreak, use Sarah's code, THENAILLOUNGE. You can see, even though these crystals are tiny, I mean, just get a gander at how much they pop. Even though they're tiny, every single time you move your hand, they're just throwing light. It is definitely a game changer to buy yourself quality crystals. Just FYI, it took me years to do it, and I won't even use the ones that aren't real that I still have left in my drawer. I just won't, because they're not this. It's just not the same. The NOTPOLISH Flash Pro lamp, handy dandy. I never have to charge this thing. I have owned it for 2 years, and I've charged it once. Not joking. Back to the Sean Legend stuff. An excellent product, but I do know that NOTPOLISH is getting ready to release very similar gels that can be used for. Oh, by the way, my code with NOTPOLISH is Jen. Please use my code. I would really appreciate it. Also, please subscribe. Please give me a like if you're here watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Look at this. Look at these crystals. Let's see if I can jump around any more on one topic. What was I saying? Yeah, they're coming out with, currently, if you buy any of NOTPOLISH's gels, like gel polish, it comes in a duo. So you get a lacquer and a polish. So they are coming out with what's called a solo now, and they are very similar to the Sean Legend, where the bottle is the same color as the gel, and they are highly pigmented enough to where you can use them as a liner, like a liner gel, and as a polish. So I cannot wait for those to be released, because some of the colors, the pigments, the richness, oh my goodness. And you guys, wait until you see the packaging. Just the packaging alone, you'll want to go buy them. Anyway, this is the set, you guys. I really was kind of proud of myself because not Frenchies. Well, yes, Frenchies, but shorties have been hard for me for my entire journey. And I kind of finally feel like I found a little bit of the secret as far as thinness of application, looking down the barrel, and using a C-curve or curved tip. I hope anything I said today helped you guys. I hope you guys learned something if you were here to learn. And I will see you guys next time. I'm back to posting Thursdays and Sundays as hard as I can try. So I will see you guys Sunday. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for watching. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.